What's up guys, it's Rob from Harmony here. In today's guitar lesson we're going to talk all about string bending. So quite simply, if you're not aware, string bending is where you play a note on the guitar and you either bend that string up or you pull it down, you bend it down as well. And when you bend the string, it actually raises the pitch of the note. And there's different types of bends that you can do. In this video we're going to talk about full bends, half bends and quarter bends. And there is a difference between them, and it's really important to master all three of those styles. Mainly the first two, half bends and full bends. Those are the most important ones. Quarter bends are a bit more of a stylistic inflection. When you're playing the guitar, you throw a quarter bend in the middle of a riff or a little bit of lead or anything like that, and it just makes things sound a little bit cooler. So we'll talk about quarter bends as well, but the main ones, like I said, half bends and full bends. So let's grab the guitar and talk about those. So as I've just said, a string bend basically is where you play a note on the fretboard and you're either going to bend that note upwards or you're going to pull it downwards. Even though you're pulling it, it's still bending the note and it's going to change it in pitch, it's going to make it sound higher. Now as a general rule, when you're bending strings, the thinner strings of the guitar, they're more commonly bent upwards, and the thicker strings of the guitar, they're more commonly bent downwards. Obviously you can't bend the thinnest string of the guitar downwards because it's just going to fall off the edge of the guitar, and likewise you can't bend the thickest string upwards because for the same reason, it's just going to fall off the guitar. So that's why normally we bring these strings down and we push these strings up. So that's just something to think about. And if you are completely new on bending strings, there's two things that I'd recommend. Firstly is to practice higher up on the fretboard because there is less tension on the strings up here. They feel a little bit looser, therefore they are easier to bend. Especially when you're trying to get full bends, which we're going to talk about in a minute. Also, I would highly recommend, again, if you're new to string bending, to use a lighter gauge of strings to start off with. Don't be trying to do string bends if you've got really thick strings on your guitar, because that is going to absolutely kill your fingers and you're going to struggle. So it's nice to practice on a lighter gauge of strings first, so it makes it nice and easier for your fingers to get used to the movement and that sort of thing, so that it's not going to hurt, because string bending at first, it does kind of hurt a little bit. But anyway, let's get right into it. So firstly, we're going to talk about full bends. So what is a full bend? That is basically where you play a note on the fretboard and you're going to bend that note upwards. By the way, for this video, I'm probably just going to play on the thinner strings of the guitar. In fact, for this video, I'll keep it really simple and just play on the second string because that's one of the easiest strings to bend. It's actually quite hard to bend the thinnest string of the guitar just because it feels like it's a little bit tighter. So we're going to just focus on the second string of the guitar just whilst we're practicing. As a little example, if I play the 10th fret on the second string of the guitar and I do a full bend, I want that note to then sound like the note 2 frets higher than it, so the note on the 12th fret. That is my aim for sound, so I'm going to bend this note until it sounds like this one. A bit like this. So this note became this one by bending. So that would be a full bend, and a full bend is making a note sound like the note 2 frets higher than it. So no matter where you play your bend, let's just stay on the second string. If it sounds like the note 2 frets higher than it once you've done the bend, that is a full bend. So let me do it somewhere else. I'll do it on the 15th fret this time. And I'm going to make it sound like the note on the 17th fret. Like this. Just by bending. So really focus on that, really practice it, and really make sure that when you do a bend, you're hitting your target note. What you don't want to do is get used to doing bends and just not quite hitting the mark every single time and just settling for that. It's going to not sound great to people listening to you playing and that sort of thing. So really make sure that whatever note you're bending, it's hitting the target every single time. So now let's move on to a half bend. You might have guessed already that a half bend isn't going up 2 frets, it's going to go up 1 fret. So again, if I play that 10th fret on the second string, and this time I want to bend that note until it sounds like this note, which is the note 1 fret higher than it. So this note is going to this note by bending. So that's a half bend. Really important as well, what you don't want to do is go for a half bend and bend it too much. It's really about finding that sweet spot to get a half bend. So that little phrase that I just played there would sound a little bit weird if I bent that note a little bit too high. it just doesn't sound quite right. So I need to make sure that I'm hitting that half bend as much as I can. And I'm getting it absolutely spot on. So far we've got full bends and half bends. So really practice those, and like I said, it's easier to practice them higher up the fretboard, maybe in this sort of area, something like that. And it's a little bit harder down here because the strings are all a little bit tighter. So one thing I want to talk about quickly before I move on to quarter bends is actually performing the bend itself. A lot of people make this mistake when they first start, is that they try and do a bend with one finger. Especially a full bend, that is really difficult. Let's just say I'm going to use just my first finger perhaps. I can do that because I've got a bit more strength in my fingers are more used to that, but for somebody just starting out, they won't have that strength or technique there yet, so they will really struggle to do a full bend with one finger. And it might sound like that, and their fingers might slip off and land underneath another string, something like that, which just doesn't sound good. So one thing I'd always recommend if you're doing a bend to start off with is to play using your third finger. Do the bend with your third finger, but also have your other two fingers, your second and first finger, behind it, and use all three fingers on the string, so you've got three fingers now giving you extra strength to perform the bend. So I'm kind of playing the note with my third finger, but my other two fingers are behind it, helping me with the push for extra strength. So you're combining all three of these fingers for your strength. Also notice my thumb is up here, and to help me do the push as well, I'm pushing with my fingers, but I'm also twisting my hand a little bit, getting a bit of extra momentum with my hand. So really work on that as well. Don't try and do these bends with one finger, because that's just going to happen. You're going to drop the strings, they're going to slip, especially if your fingers get a little bit sweaty. Mine are actually getting a bit sweaty at the moment, so you're going to be not able to control the strings as well because they're going to slip off. So very quickly, I want to talk about quarter bends. Now, quarter bends are more of a stylistic inflection, like I said, and basically all that means is that in the middle of playing a little phrase or a little line on the guitar, you can just drag some strings just a little bit, just a quarter of a bend, and it's going to make things sound really cool, kind of like this. See that little note that I played there on the 5th fret? I just dragged it a little bit, not a full half bend, so it wasn't like this. It was more very subtle. And when you throw that into your playing, no matter where you're doing it, it's just going to make certain notes pop out a bit more, and it sounds really cool. See, I'm just dragging on certain notes, and for me that's making it sound a lot more bluesier and a lot more, it's got more character to it, and that's what I like doing a lot. So that's what quarter bends are. They're really useful for making certain notes pop out. So again, play about with those and just try and find areas in your playing where you can throw in a quarter bend every now and again. So let's very quickly recap. We had full bends, where those bends sound like the note 2 frets higher than it. So the 10th sounded like the 12th. And we had half bends, where the 10th would then sound like the 11th. And then we had quarter bends, where, well, the 10th would just sound a little bit higher. Something like that. So there you go, those are some examples of different bends that you can play on the guitar, things to try and achieve, that sort of thing. In my opinion, a lot of guitar players, especially newer guitar players, they overlook the importance of practicing bends and actually making sure that when they bend a note, they get it to the right pitch that they want. There's nothing worse sometimes than hearing a guitar player do a bend and they go to maybe get a full bend and it just doesn't quite hit the note, and they might not even fully realize that they're doing it. Maybe they're more focused on the speed that they're playing or anything like that rather than the actual control of the strings, especially within those bends. So they're super important to practice. So I hope this video has helped you at least know what you can be aiming for when you're doing bends. So I hope you enjoyed this video, hope it was useful, that sort of thing. If you did enjoy this video, then please click the like button. Let us know in the comments below what you think. Subscribe to our channel as well for weekly guitar videos, singing videos and drumming videos, and hopefully we will see you in our next one. So thanks for watching.